All right, and that is all we had in terms of news. Thank you, Davis Mberia, for that update. But we switch gears back to the impact. Tonight, we have a special broadcast that is focusing on the impact of the demonstrations that was set up in order to decry the high cost of living. There were anti-government protests that are meant to take a look, or rather give a platform for the people to actually cry out about the high cost of living. But of course, following the particular demonstration that we have seen this week would have been the fourth wave of the demonstration. We have seen the loss of life, the loss of property, and of course there has been a bit of disruption to the ongoing activities, economic activities that Kenyans usually engage in. And following some of the casualties that have been experienced during the demonstration, Azimio Coalition earlier today gave out a statement saying that they are calling off the Wednesday planned protest, saying that after they have taken stock and after they have visited morgues and hospitals, they seem to feel that there's need to mourn and hold vigils. Now, let's take a look at some of the highlights of this particular impact of the demonstration. Now, police high-handedness has been a big one. Now, of course, we're taking a look here at police conduct or misconduct. Now, respect for the freedom of assembly and picketing. Of course, the Constitution does outline that Kenyans do have the right to picket and hold assembly, and of course this has been met with brutal force from the police, in some cases the loss of lives, and remain indiscriminate, treat protesters equally. Of course, we have seen as some of the protesters were on the receiving end of blows, as you can see in that picture right there. The conduct of the police is supposed to be proportionate use of force, and use of force as the last resort. Therefore, this would imply that maybe a protester would be having a weapon or would be putting the police officer in danger. But clearly, from some of the events that have been reported, this is not something that the police have been adhered to, and of course have been on the receiving end of accusations from the opposition and civil society in general. Of course, the police are also, as you can see there, expected to avoid arbitrary arrest and detention. Now, detention without any particular reason. Now, police conduct or misconduct, if you like, this means, of course, or rather as stipulated by the law, they should protect journalists and not attack journalists. We have had several reports of journalists coming under threat from the police, and of course in some cases the police have been accused of disguising themselves as journalists and then going on the offensive against protesters, and of course this will not put journalists in a safe position when they are covering said protests. Another element of police conduct that is required during demonstrations is to protect vulnerable groups. These are children, the elderly, and people living with disabilities. This has not been seen. In some cases, we've had parents coming out crying that their children have been actually tear gassed, and even in school we have had children falling victims to tear gas. Now, the loss of lives is another thing that has come up when it comes to the demonstrations that were called for by Azimio. According to the numbers of Amnesty International, 30 people have been killed since March 2023 under this demonstrations that have turned out chaotic. According to Azimio la Umoja, and what they say is the numbers that they have gathered themselves, 50 people have actually died owing to this demonstration. They're saying that the hospitals have been asked not to give out the actual numbers, and so this implies that the numbers might be higher. But of course, what is clear is that there have been tens of lives that have been lost. Also, the Public Order Act that is supposed to guide the country on how to handle gatherings indicates that notifications regulating officers should regulatory officers should be notified 3 days before an event. If that happens, then they can go ahead and assess and give permission for gathering by any party that seeks to be gathering at any particular time and whatever venue. And this can only be denied if another notification for the same time and venue is received earlier. Of course, this means if Party A and Party B both want to meet at the same time at a particular venue, they can actually deny them because someone else actually booked the venue earlier on. But of course, we have seen other reasons being defaulted to when it comes to the denying of the gatherings that have been requested from the police and the authorities that be. And those are the impact, the areas that we're looking at on the impact tonight. I'd like to hand it over to Zubeida Kananu, my colleague, who's going to take a look at some of these areas that have come up that are deemed thorny, of course, following the demonstrations by Azimio.
Asante sana Trix, thank you so much. See you later. Asante sana mtazamaji kwa kuendelea